Thank you, Mr. President. I stand because I have a great deal of concern that we are perhaps missing an opportunity of many, many generations. Connecticut has traditionally been an incredible place to do business. It's been an incredible place for financial services here more recently, the last decade and a half or so. We have witnessed the entry of many firms from New York City, from other states in the country, to Connecticut, and in particular southwestern Connecticut, and right here in our backyard in Hartford. We've also unfortunately seen the insurance business get to the point where we've lost many of their divisions and many of their jobs as well to other states because of the cost of doing business. My colleague was talking about looking at this from the 30,000 foot level. I'd like to take it up to the 45,000 foot level for a couple of minutes and talk a little bit about the history of Connecticut and talk about how capital, business leaders, families, and individuals react to changes in the tax code. There is no question that 100+ years ago in Connecticut, it was a much more friendly place to do business. I don't believe they had anything remotely close to an income tax. I think corporate taxes were minimal. And of course, regulations were a lot easier, and that's a discussion for another day. However, it was a wonderful place to do business. There was critical mass that occurred. There was a great deal of synergy in all sorts of different industries, all the way from basic metalwork through submarine technology, through defense and aerospace, and then into more sophisticated industries in the financial services business and insurance in particular. Are our golden days over? Arguably, possibly, yes. Why is that the case? I think it's because the burden on Connecticut businesses has become so great. Taxes are part of that. We have this opportunity right now to keep our taxes where they are or vote in favor of this budget proposal. And Mr. President, I'm deeply concerned about that because I do know for a fact that in my neck of the woods in southwestern Connecticut that if this is enacted, that we will lose billions and billions of dollars of capital, not only personal net worth and corporate net worth, but many dozens of billions of dollars of assets under management in private equity, venture capital, hedge funds, etc. This is money, this is capital that eventually turns into income tax to the state of Connecticut. Being a little more philosophical about it, I can tell you the state government wouldn't exist today without the taxpayer, without the tax base paying its annual dues to us up here in Hartford. In turn, Connecticut state government turns around and provides services and goods to the people of Connecticut. And again, it's a philosophical argument. To what degree should the government be doing it? But I can tell you on the other side of the argument, which is what can the tax base afford, we are at the threshold. We are proposing, the majority is proposing to increase taxes almost 50% on individuals at the top rate and a 30% surcharge on corporate taxes. Are they going to be able to afford it? Probably not. We've already witnessed in the last 18 months or so about 18 to 20,000 businesses in Connecticut shuttering their doors. They just can't take it. How many large corporations will look at this and say, this is something we simply can't afford? Walter Wriston said it many years ago, capital follows the opportunity, and so do the families and limited liability corporations and partnerships and so on and so forth. We need to be cognizant of that. If we do that, we are just squeezing more and more people out of the tax base, and when stimulus funds dry up in 2012, 2013, what do we do then? Do we raise our taxes even more and continue to push out the tax base? To me, it's a golden opportunity that we should not be missing right now. As was previously pointed out, Maine gets it. Maine said we want to hang on to what we have here. We don't care who it comes from, but it's obvious where it comes from. We need to hang on to them. And maybe we'll even get really lucky. Maybe the 4 or 5 other states surrounding us or in New England will raise their taxes to the point where people say, hey, Maine is not such a bad place to do business or to reside. And we'll be happy to pay our 5.5% or 6.5% tax to the state of Maine as opposed to 10% if we were to live in New York City, or to Connecticut, it's at the rate of 7.5%. These are criteria that people pay extremely close attention to. Senator Boucher just took you through the statistics that we have about the estate tax and behavior related to the rates there, and the proposal has a provision for a 30% surcharge on the estate tax liabilities should it occur. We know for a fact that there are so many people, and it's very difficult to track this kind of data, they will leave the state in a heartbeat. I think I told you last time on the floor when we were discussing this issue that before the previously proposed budget from the majority side, my phone was ringing off the hook because New York had just raised their taxes all across the board. And there were dozens and dozens of financial services firms that said they would unequivocally come to Connecticut if we could guarantee, if I could guarantee, that tax rates wouldn't go up. Obviously, I couldn't do that. The phone continued to ring for about 2 weeks, and then it went dead because they realized that there was a good chance that Connecticut would be following suit with the other states that surround us. So we started to tip our hand. We started to say we're not really interested in gaining or maintaining that competitive advantage, and we basically sent the message out that we are closed for new business here in Connecticut. We also have to take into account that just because rates may be going up here in the not too distant future, it does not guarantee a bump up in revenues. We all know, and I hope this was discussed in the Finance Committee meeting over the course of time, and perhaps even this morning. I didn't get a chance to follow it on the CTN, but there's a little thing called tax loss carryforwards. They've been growing here in the last 18 months like weeds, and these are tax loss carryforwards that are good in perpetuity. They will, in fact, put a huge damper on revenues to the state of Connecticut going forward, especially under the new scheme if it is adopted. And that's something I'm very, very concerned about because, again, our funding dries up from the federal government in the not-too-distant future. What do we do at that point? This is also an opportunity to look at what we should be in, what businesses we should be in here in the state of Connecticut. Does it make sense to be in everything? If we had unlimited funds, if we could print money, yes, I think everybody in this circle is here for a reason and wants to do better for the taxpayers and the citizens of the state of Connecticut. But unfortunately, the reality is we do have a bank account that must be in balance. With that, Mr. President, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Senator Kissel.